Amy Grant and Vince Gill talked 25 years together, finding a second chance at love after their first marriages, exclusive. Decades have passed since Vince Gill and Amy Grant endured what she calls those long years, the time between their first meeting in 1993 and when they became a couple in 1999. But Grant says thinking about them still makes me sweat. The reason is obvious. From the start, the chemistry between the two artists was undeniable, not only to each other but also to anyone around them, and yet both were in their first marriages at the time. It was not anything that we orchestrated, Grant, 64, tells People in a joint interview with the couple, who recently released their holiday album When I Think of Christmas ahead of their annual Christmas residency at Nashville's Ryman Auditorium. It was like life orchestrated that we kept crossing paths. Thankfully, the stresses of that era are ancient history for Grant and Gill, now happily married almost a quarter century. Still, they continue to glean a wisdom and perspective from their journey that could inspire anyone seeking second chances. Life is full of all kinds of mysteries, says Grant. And I'm not saying any of us did it all wrong or all right, but what we've experienced is just so much grace and forgiveness for each other and for our first families and our second families, and it is possible to reconcile. It's possible to mend fences. It might not be in the context of original relationships, but it's possible to find your way in life with respect. The two first met when Gill, already a major country star, invited Grant, herself a hit-making trailblazer in Christian pop music, to appear as a guest on his Christmas TV special. I just remember the smile, Gill, 67, says. That's all I can remember. It was a staggering smile that just stopped me in my tracks. And that had never happened to me before like that. Grant recalls being nervous before rehearsal, and her first memory of Gill was his act of kindness. I just walked into the rehearsal space and Vince came over and put his arm around me and said, "Hey, unknit that brow, it's going to be okay." I remember saying, "Wow, thank you for saying that." Musically, they clicked, and after the show's taping, professional get-togethers seemed natural. Gill returned Grant's favor and made a guest appearance at her Nashville holiday show that year. Soon afterward, Gill famously felt a stroke of inspiration from what had first captivated him about Grant. "I was writing songs with a buddy of mine, and he said, 'What do you want to write about today?' I said, 'Let's write a song about Amy Grant's smile.' He said, 'Do you even know her?' I said, 'Not very well, but she's sure got a great smile.' The romantic ballad he and Pete Wasner wrote, Whenever You Come Around, eventually became one of Gill's biggest hits, as well as a signature song. Before its release, Gill shared it with Grant during a songwriting session of their own, and she recalls, "All I could think of was, gol, lucky girl." It would be years before she learned that she was Gill's muse. Grant also invited Gill to duet with her on House of Love, the title song on her 1994 album. Though Grant had no hand in writing the lyrics, they now seem uncannily prescient. Sometimes life is funny / you think you're in your darkest hour / when the lights are coming on in the House of Love. In fact, both their marriages were by then rocky. Grant had wed Christian artist Gary Chapman in 1982, and they had 3 young children, a son and 2 daughters. Gill wed country artist Janice Oliver in 1980, and they had a daughter. Grant and Gill's chemistry didn't go unnoticed by their respective spouses. "I think the energy was palpable to all of us," says Grant, "and we tried to be so respectful. You can't unknow. You can't unsee something." And years later, I have said to Janice, "You could have been all kinds of ways, and you were so kind to me." That was a hard stretch.